Hello, and welcome to Developer Day. I'm Matthew Isabel, and I'm on the product team here at Retool. It's been a big year here at Retool, and we're excited to talk about some of what's new and launching today, along with recapping some of the product highlights from this past year. Retool has changed a lot if you haven't checked in for a bit. While we're continuing to make a powerful app building experience, Retool can do a lot more, from handling workflows to built-in database to mobile apps and more, with most recently supporting building apps for external customers. So we've really gone beyond the story of just being a great internal tool builder from a few years ago. So we have four folks that we're going to hear from today to cover product updates before we're going to do two build sessions, and then we'll do some Q&A at the end. At any point during this, you can drop Q&A into chat, and the team will grab it or we'll cover it in the live part of the Q&A at the end. So you're going to hear from me, you're going to hear from Jess talking about the new IDE, you're going to hear from Eva on source control, and you're going to hear about from Sam from our collaboration story at Retool. So what are we going to hear about today? Well, the first thing we're going to hear about is the new IDE. Jess and the team have spent a ton of time with customers to think about what a more powerful IDE for builders would look like. Something that was more customizable, better for code authoring, and an improvement for small screens. We're also making the IDE an even better place to work with a private beta of multiplayer. If you've worked in a Retool app with a real-time colleague in the past, you maybe got a warning about someone else being the editor. Well, that is out, and real-time editing is in, which Sam will cover in more detail shortly. We're also going to be covering some big leaps forward in source control. In the past, managing complex changes across multiple branches could get really challenging, particularly as your organization scaled. So we've shipped multi-element branching for easier grouping of updates. And we've also shipped a whole new branch management UI. Another huge improvement to the source control experience is the launch of ToolScript. ToolScript is a new serialization format, so you can review your changes how you'd expect in PRs, with a highly legible diff format, which lets you see SQL changes and UI updates in a way that makes reviewing in GitHub or GitLab or Azure repos or wherever your code may be really a breeze. And finally, we're announcing a new retool built-in for file storage, available in private beta starting next week. Retool built-ins are resources that are batteries included when you start using Retool, no setup required. For example, you may have used Retool Database in the past, which provides a Postgres database with really a terrific UI layer on top for all of the Retool customer base. With file storage, you don't have to set up S3 or another blob storage. You can just easily manage your files inside of Retool. And there's more. We've also launched another built-in recently, which is Retool Email. Retool Email lets you get off and running quickly without having to go and set up an SMTP server. We also have new secrets management live for AWS Secrets Manager and HashiCorp Vault, along with outbound region settings to determine which Retool region makes requests to your resources. So this can come with big performance gains. So, if, for example, you're in Europe, you can set your Retool outbound region to the EU, and you should start to see those query time improvements. But before I hand it over, let's go back and look at some of the ships that you may have missed. So today we're talking about, these big announcements for Retool v3, and it's a lot of great stuff. It's the new IDE, it's email, it's multi-region resources, multiplayer. But if you haven't caught up with Retool in a while, maybe you're self-hosting and you haven't updated Retool since our last March Developer Day, and maybe you were just on 2.115. Well, if that's the case, there's a lot of changes since then, and we'd love to tell you about some of them. So in a moment, I'm going to go and break down a few of our big launches from this year. But right now, we're at Retool 3.6, and hitting 3.0 was a big milestone for Retool. And if you missed it, you may have missed that we may see decreased load times of up to 75% with Retool 3.0. And that's a huge performance gain for a lot of apps. So that was really what brought us to the 3.0 milestone, where we're now at 3.6. We've shipped a ton of other exciting stuff as well. In April, we shipped new AI features, including things like AI-assisted query authoring in apps and smart blocks and workflows to help builders both build faster and get AI capabilities into their apps for end users. In May, we introduced new pricing that separates out editors building apps from end users who are consuming apps to get to a pricing model that is really friendly as you scale Retool in your organization. We shipped an all-new table, which has massive performance benefits, new column types, built-in filters, and we're continuing to add more and more features based on the awesome feedback we keep getting on our community forum. This past month, we announced we're going beyond internal tools to let you build any customer-facing application with Retool Portal and Retool Embed. When we set out to build the next version of Retool, we knew we really wanted to double down on what makes Retool different. And that's a best-in-class builder experience where developers can have an IDE with the world's fastest inner loop. You can design, drag, drop, code, debug, merge, and deploy all from one place. So to tell you more about updates to the IDE, here's Jess.
Hi everyone, I'm Jess, PM of our new IDE. Building apps in Retool should be easy, which is why we're delivering more power and speed in an interface that's designed for developers. Retool is a platform that enables you to write code across the product, and we pulled inspiration from our favorite developer tools like VS Code and IntelliJ to build a better code writing experience. Along the way, we talked to dozens of customers to better understand what they were looking for in a new IDE. Builders wanted to have multiple features open at the same time and use tabs and split views to make the most of their screen space. Developers were eager for code editors that came with better autocomplete, improved code evaluation, and multi-cursor editing. Customers still needed to perform their common flows of designing UI, writing code, and debugging errors, but wanted to do so in a quicker and more pragmatic way. However, Retool is not just a code editor. We also support building with components on a canvas, and we provide building blocks out of the box. This led us to design our IDE such that switching between UI and code is simple and straightforward, a critical part of being able to build rapidly and pragmatically. We went through many iterations to find the optimal structure that was both customizable and familiar, and eventually landed on a split view structure where content is split by code and design. Information flows from left to right with a sidebar containing all of Retool's core actions. To give you a tour of what's new, we'll build an app together using the new IDE. Let's start by jumping into a brand new app. Starting with the sidebar on the left, we've consolidated all of the important app building features in one place. I can add components, view the component tree, open queries and write code, view releases and history, edit app settings, and investigate state and debug tools. If I need more code writing space, I can rearrange my workspace so that code is vertically split, horizontally split, and I can even go into full screen mode where I can switch between the canvas and my queries. Now that we've covered the basics, let's take the new IDE for a spin by building a customer management tool, a common use case on Retool. I've built an initial version of our CRM with 4 main components: a header to navigate between different apps, a table to display customer data using some of our newer column types like status indicators, progress bars, and multi-line text, a chart to display seat usage for each customer, and a form to edit individual rows. Let's say I want to add more to this app, starting with a search input. I'll drag out a text input and go ahead and call this the search filter. We'll then do some light styling where we'll change the placeholder, remove the label, and add a prefix icon. I'll then click on the table and connect the search input to the table in the inspector. Now I have a working search filter within seconds. I can edit individual rows using the form, but what if I want to delete customers? I'll go into my code tab and create a new query. And we'll go ahead and pin the tab so that I can rename this to delete row. From there, I'll select the right resource, which is Retool Database. I'll go into GUI mode. I'll select the right table and pick the delete a record action type. I'll filter by ID and use our new autocomplete to write the query. And I'll also add two success event handlers. One that refreshes the table when the query is finished running, and another to select the previous row once I've deleted the row that I currently have selected. And I'll go ahead and save the query. If I need to quickly reference other code, I can open up a temporary tab to switch between other queries. But for now, I'll go ahead and minimize our code editor to get more canvas space. Click on the table and create a delete action button. I can then connect my delete row query to the action button using an event handler. If I go ahead and try to delete this first row, it seems like I've come across an error in my app. So I can go into state to investigate dependencies. Maybe I'll take a quick look at the table, go into my delete row query. I can see the error in the console. Seems like something's wrong with my delete row query. So I'll pop open the code editor again, double check the output, and I think I have an extra semicolon here. So go ahead and remove that and save this. And now if I go to delete this last row in the table, there we go. I'm working on a smaller screen, so I could use some more screen space to write code. I can unpin the sidebar and the inspector so that they're automatically closed when I click away. And if I need even more code writing space, I can go into full screen mode. My app is now ready to go, so I'll go into preview mode to double check what my end users will see before I copy the link and share the app with our success team. And that's it. I just built a Retool app using the new IDE in an interface that matched exactly how I wanted to build. The new IDE is now available to all cloud customers, and on-premise customers can opt in on version 3.8 in 2 weeks. We're super excited to see how you built. The new IDE streamlines app development for individual builders, but collaborating with your team can introduce a whole new set of challenges. That's why we've also reimagined how to quickly and securely build with your teammates. Here's Sam to share more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Cronick, one of our engineering leaders here at Retool. I'm excited to share some big news about our collaboration story. We use Retool for all sorts of things here within Retool ourselves. Everything from tracking support tickets to managing engineering incidents, building our product roadmap, or tracking deals as they move through the sales pipeline. Just about everybody in the company is a Retool builder of some sort, whether that's building applications from the ground up, from scratch, or just tweaking an existing app to customize it to meet their particular needs. Now, with so many builders internally, it's really exciting and empowering because we're rarely waiting for some other team to unblock us and build an app for us. We can just kind of jump in and do it. But we have really wide open edit permissions and access controls, which means we have to be also very careful and coordinate our work to make sure that we don't step on each other's toes or inadvertently break something for someone else. So Jess and I know this pain firsthand. I went back into my Slack archive and I found this snippet from one of our first conversations together. I was just instantly taking a look at an app I probably had no business in, but I was really curious how Jess had built out this one SQL query. And I wound up stopping her from getting her work done, actually causing a pretty big problem here. So maybe you've had a similar experience with Retool or some other cloud-based apps. This is just kind of been the state of the world for a long time. So in the past, to actually enable any sort of wide-reaching cross-team collaboration, it's involved a lot of copying apps, sending links and screenshots back and forth. There's always been workarounds to this sort of collaboration problem, but it's never really been the experience that we really truly wanted to enable for you. So today, all of that changes with the introduction of our multiplayer editing feature. With multiplayer editing, we're about to make working in real time with your team, editing apps a real cinch. So let's jump back into that app, and I'm going to show you what we're talking about. So this app is looking pretty good. We've got a lot of things that we need in here, but we don't have a way to add customers, add new customers to this. So let's jump over into edit mode, and I'll show you what we've got going on. Well, you'll notice a couple things right away that are new. We can see that Jess is also here editing this app as well. And now we get to see exactly what component she's editing at this moment. So she's still working on that search and filter bar there, which is great because I'm going to go ahead and add a new component onto the canvas here. We're going to create a modal and drop this in right here. Now, Jess, meanwhile, is seeing my updates come over in real time in her editor. And similarly, as she makes changes down here now on the table, I'm going to get those streamed to my editor as well. So let's go ahead and change this and say we want to add a new customer. And I'm going to pop open this modal here. And Retool is really just syncing kind of the source code behind this app, not our UI state or anything. So we can kind of work in parallel. And the deeper I get into building my part of this app, I may not even notice Jess is here anymore for a second. So let's go ahead and build this form, and I can build without any barriers here. I'm going to generate a form from the data we've got. Let's see, from the data table here. We got to change a couple of things. Contact name, and we'll remove that one. Okay, let's go ahead and generate this form. All right, great. Now I can also invite Jess in to say, hey, why don't you come over and actually help me style this form? And what Retool is going to do is merge our changes seamlessly, so we really don't block each other or break anything as we do this. So there, I can see Jess has updated the title. That's fantastic. Meanwhile, I'm going to go in here. I don't know. This is pulling from my table right now. Let's get rid of that because this is a new customer form. Jess should see those changes reflected on her end as well. She's going to go ahead and style this and add some options here. Oh, cool. I can see those coming in. Oh, maybe those are the wrong options. Oh, those are the right options. Fantastic. Thanks, Jess. And I'll go ahead and wire up the submit button here. So let's trigger a new query. And I jump right over here to my query editor. Now, I'll go ahead and set up this query, but I'm not exactly sure how this is supposed to be set up. I'll give it a shot. And then if I'm having some trouble, maybe Jess can come in and help me here too. So we're going to insert a record, and let's do this form1.data. Let's just take that suggestion right away and see what happens. And we're going to hit save and run. And okay, we've got some error here that I don't quite know how to fix, but maybe Jess can come over here and help me out. So if I say, oh, there she pops in, we can see that Jess is also editing this. So even in the code editor here, I can see where my collaborators are. And just as I had hoped, we've got new changes to this query. So I can go ahead and refresh that right here. And Jess has updated this with the exact logic that we need to make this query run. So there you have it. We've built this app together. We've added a new feature by collaborating with each other. And that was really, really pretty straightforward. So maybe you want to get your hands on this new feature. What do you need to do? Well, we're excited to announce today the launch of our private beta for this multiplayer editing feature, which means if you go to the link on screen right now or in the chat, you can sign up to get early access to this feature. So great. I think, all right. Yeah, we can't wait for you to give it a try and give us feedback on how you like it. With that, I'm going to hand you over to Eva to share some of the latest on some more advanced collaboration features with source control.
Hey everyone, I'm Eva, a PM here at Retool. Multiplayer is great for building together quickly, but we also know it's important for teams to collaborate with more guardrails and to collaborate at scale. So we built source control into Retool. Developers can use a familiar Git-based flow to work on branches and review pull requests before rolling out changes. Since we first introduced source control, our builders have created more interconnected apps than ever before, as they're reusing components and code across their organizations. As a result, we've revamped source control so that related changes from different parts of Retool can be managed within a single branch. Now, when you open a branch on Retool, you can commit to that branch from any number of apps, modules, or library queries, and you can easily see how those changes interact. This also means you can easily coordinate related changes, since you'll only need one pull request. We're also introducing our new serialization format called ToolScript to represent Retool apps. This will be a huge improvement for reviewers looking at changes in a pull request. We developed ToolScript with readability and succinctness in mind. Diffs are on average 80% shorter than they were before. Together, these features make collaboration in Retool easier than ever. Let's take a closer look at the new source control. So I'd like to add a new feature to the CRM app to make it easy to email our customers. I see that since Sam and Jess last worked on this app, they added it to source control, which means that we can't edit directly on main. I'll have to create a new branch for my changes. So I want to add a way to email our contacts directly from this app. And I know that we already have a module that we use to send emails. So let's see if I can leverage that. All right, this looks like a good starting point. Let me set up the inputs to this module so that we have the right recipient. So grab that from the data table. All right, great. My changes on this branch are saved as I make them, and when I'm ready, I can put those changes into a commit. So let's say add email form here. So this looks useful so far, but we really should be able to write a subject line here and make it personalized. So let's go into the module to make that feature. To edit the module, I see the option to continue on a recent branch or create a new one. I want these module changes to be coordinated together with my app changes, so I'll continue on the same branch. Great. Now let's add a field for that. Let's add a field for that new subject line. All right, great. And then let's update the query that we use to send this email. So instead of hard coding this, we want to make it dynamic now. So let's grab the value from there. Okay, great. These look good to me. So let's commit these changes. And you can see in the branch menu here that I have changes from multiple places on this branch. So I've got the changes that we made in the app, and now I have my module changes there as well. And I can actually travel back to my app to review those earlier changes and see that the changes from the module are reflected here as well. So I'm ready to open a pull request now. So we can do that from the branch menu. And I can view the pull request on GitHub. And let's check out the underlying files here. So this is ToolScript that we're seeing in the underlying files. And as you can see, it's really easy to understand my changes here in the logic of the query. And here's my addition of that new input field in the module for the subject line. As well as in the app, you can see that I've inserted the module here right below the table. So this would be really intuitive for a teammate to review. And assuming we've done that, let's merge this. All right, so going back to Retool now, I can see that my changes are live on main. And the module changes are also live there on main. So these two changes went live together. Source control was designed in a way that's familiar to developers. and helps teams collaborate with best practices. The flow that we saw here is available now for customers using GitHub, and we'll be extending it to other Git providers soon.
Those were some exciting updates. And now let's get into the builder section of the developer day. I'm going to start by showing an app using database and workflows and our app building product. And then Donald is going to show mobile and a bit of the new Retool file storage. So let's get into it. As I said, I really like to start apps if I'm building something new or maybe just even building a sample with the database. That's really where the data is to start. So I have a couple tables here, but let's just show for kind of a demo how easy it is to get data into Retool DB. So I have a CSV, I can just drag and drop it, it detects the field types, and that's how fast it took us to really just get to a table in Retool DB. So we have our customers all the way set up as a table. But let's look at trials. I kind of already have this set up. I have customer names, I have these values for what market tier they are. I have potential ARR when the trial started and ended. I have an activity score, whether or not they've been contacted. Okay, this looks to be a text field though, so let's just change it over to a Boolean with checkbox. Cool, so now we have basically all the contacted data in here, and we can actually just, we reached out and we talked to another customer, you can actually change this directly in the database if you wanted to. We're going to build an app to do a little bit of this in a moment. So that's getting data into Retool DB. That's modifying Retool DB data. Let's go ahead and do something with these trials. So let's say maybe when these trials are close to ending, we want to go and let our team know we should reach out and contact these customers. So I'm going to go and actually use a workflow for this. So we're going to go here, we're going to create a new workflow. And here we are out of the box with basically the start block and then some JS as a sample code. I also love that down here, you can click on any of these and get into a sample use case workflow as well. So I'm actually not going to need this block, so I'm going to delete it. And let's close that out there. So what I said we were going to do is we were first going to query over our data. So let's do a Retool database query, and we can just do a really simple select star from trials. So if we go ahead and we run this, we get some results in here. And this is great. I love having kind of the block flow of workflows, but I'm actually going to go and maybe make this a little bit bigger. Maybe I'll just go and open this in a split view to go ahead and see, okay, here's my table results. Here's the query. Okay, this is all my trials that are ending soon. What we actually want to do is say, maybe the trials that are in roughly, let's say, 2 weeks or 1 week, and let's let our team know that we should reach out to those customers. So we're going to say where the date, and let's say trials dot trial end date to get that. Okay, so where the date is less than, so let's say now plus an interval of, let's maybe say 14 days. Let's go ahead and run this query. Okay, so we get a smaller subset here. And these are all our trials coming that are ending soon. Looks pretty good. Maybe this is too many. Let's get it to a smaller group and let's run it again. Great. Here's our results for trials that are ending in the next 7 days. Now, what do we want to do with these? So we're going to send an email to the team for each of these to say, hey, Zenith Tech is coming to the end of their trial. We should reach out to them. So I'm going to go back to our grid view. We're going to select in here. You see our query. And let's add another block in here. So we're going to go ahead and add a loop. So what this is going to do is this is going to loop over everything from our outcome of query 2. And let's go ahead and use that Retool email built in. And I'm going to send it to myself as a test. But maybe we'd send this to our account team or someone like that who could go ahead and reach out to these customers. So our subject line, I like to always go and check out here. Okay, this is going to be the value inside a loop. So maybe we want to say value dot customer name trial ending soon. So we can send this to the team. And maybe I want to do this in Markdown, which is a really handy way to just say, let's just do the same thing we did there. And then let's maybe add something in here, and we could say trial ending, and let's make another reference to value dot trial ending. Cool. That looks pretty good. And we can see our string here, and we can go ahead and let's actually run this. Let's run the whole workflow and see these emails come through. So I'm going to go ahead and press run here. You'll see this will execute our workflow. And it looks like it ran successfully. So we have our results. I just see some emails came through on my side for each of these trials. And this is great. It's really handy to be able to go ahead and run this. But what I think we really want to do is say, hey, maybe every week we want to call this. We want to say, hey, we need to check these out and reach out to these customers. So rather than running every day, I'm going to say, hey, let's run this once a week on Monday. That looks good. Let's close our logs here, save, let's turn it on. And then we could just go ahead and press deploy. And now our workflow is live, letting our account team know, hey, we need to reach out to some customers or potential customers. So let's go back here, and we're actually going to go, and now let's use the table component to really see some of these trials. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new app, and let's just call it trials. Cool. So let's start. I know that we're probably going to be showing a table. So I'm going to start by just dragging in a table right here. And we have our table component. Looks like it's trying to access a data query. Let's just get rid of this, and let's just see a table with the demo data inside of here. So we have some data. This is our new table. And one thing I love about the new table is just how snappy it is when you put a ton of data in it. Right now, we're just looking at some sample data, though. So let's get our data into this table. So let's get rid of this old query, and let's create a query to go and access Retool DB. Let's do a really nice and simple select star from trials again. And let's go ahead and run this. Cool. That's our data. Let's go back here to our table. I'm going to minimize the code for a minute. And let's go ahead and make our data source query 1. This looks pretty good. Maybe all the columns aren't quite configured how I'd like, but this is a pretty good set of data. I don't think we actually need to see the ID column, so we can get rid of that. Really the potential MRR, let's go ahead and make that currency, so that looks right. Okay, that's pretty neat there. And then I have this trial activity score where on our side, we basically look at some activity and we say, hey, what is this rough activity score out of 100? So I'm actually going to go ahead and use this really nifty progress format. And that says a min of 0, max of 100. That's what we're already using. And we kind of have this inline activity score now. All right, so this is pretty good so far, but there's a lot more that this table can do. So let's actually just go and play around with some other things. One thing I really like is we have these market tiers, and maybe we split up our team by market tier. And let's go ahead and actually just go over to here, and we can actually group by market tier. So you could see, oh wow, you actually can go and expand this. You can see here's how much potential MRR we have in the enterprise segment, and here are the customers inside of here if we wanted to do that. And I'm actually going to go, and while this is neat, it's not something that I need in this table right now. Another cool thing is maybe if we wanted to, and we wanted to always know, hey, what's the potential MRR of all of these? We could add a summary row, and you could see inside of here, if our table were slightly bigger, I'll just go ahead and move this over here, and we'll go ahead and do this. We could see a sum, and that would give us a summary of potential MRR. And if we did go back and we said, hey, let's bring back that summary row. You can group by potential MRR, and I actually wanted to group by market tier. And again, you see the summed by potential MRR, and you have that summary row. Now, let's go ahead and actually remove the summary row. I don't need it at the moment. And I think one thing that we want to do is this table doesn't quite show me when someone's trial is going to end. And the nice thing I can do is have the end date in here. I could actually just go and create another column. And let's maybe add this column label to say days remaining. So we'll say how many days remaining in their trial. And to do this, let's go ahead and maybe use, I can already go ahead and reference maybe the trial end date. That's pretty nifty. But what I really want is to be able to go and look at the current date. And then I want to diff this with the actual end date. So that's pretty good. And so we have a moment diff here, and we want to diff it in days. All right, so that's going to give us the diff between this current date and when the trial ends. And I'm actually just going to flip this. And when we look here, and I'm going to expand this out again, maybe we'll just hide the inspector for a second. You can see we have our days remaining all set up on this right side as well with this custom column. All right, looking pretty good still. Now, what is something else that I think we might want to do here? And maybe let's go and try our status indicator out for tables as well. So let's maybe go to the customer name and let's go and look for an add-on. Let's get a status indicator and let's go and check out this status indicator. So we can go ahead and here and it says show when true. I'm going to maybe say, let's show when current row dot potential MRR is greater than, say, 40,000. Let's say we're looking at the really big customers here. And maybe because we're just looking at the really big customers, we can go ahead and just give them, we will say they are big fishes. They are big fish. So we will go ahead and add a fish icon. And now you can see in here, we get this little label, we get the status for any customer that has potential to be over 40,000 in MRR. So we've got these two labeled inside of here. So a nifty little way to give some extra identification. And you could even, just use this as the whole column itself. Right now, we're just adding it to the end of the customer name. So now the thing that we want to really be able to do is maybe we want someone to be able to take an action like extended trial. So let's go here and let's add an action to this table. And we see this action 1, and this will maybe be extend. Okay, maybe we'll add a plus sign here to extend a trial. That looks pretty good. And what this is going to do is we're going to wire it up to an event handler to extend a trial. So let's go ahead and we can add this code actually in a second. So we'll go here. Let's go to extend. Let's add an event handler. And okay, it's trying to call query 1 right now. We actually want to create a new query and we see this pop up. So we're going to call this new query when we do this. And what we want to do is we want to go and update. Let's say we want to be able to say, hey, let's extend customer trials by 14 days if we talk to them or we have some communication with them. And let's go ahead and make that something that you can just do from the table itself. So I'm actually going to go into GUI mode and I'm going to say select the trials table. We're going to do an update of an existing record. We are going to filter by ID equals table 1 dot selected row dot ID. So that looks pretty good there. Okay, we can see this is going to apply for our row. If we go ahead and click this button, great. Now we are going to go ahead and say, let's update the trial end date. And what we want the value to be here is just to extend it. So let's say this will be kind of a way to extend the existing value. So we're going to use a function here, and we're going to take the table 1 dot selected row dot trial end date. Okay, so that's going to give us our trial end date. Then we're actually just going to do an add of 7. And that should be pretty good here to go ahead and extend it. And you can actually see it's taken this date, which is the 14th, and it's added 7 days, and it shows us it'll actually go and change this to the 21st. So we can save that. We can then maybe go back here. Let's go ahead and look at these by trial end date. Maybe let's grab this last one here, and let's extend this trial. So that went ahead and updated our trial end date. One thing we might want to do at the end of that is go ahead and say, okay, on success, let's go ahead and get our trial data again. Let's save that. And let's extend a trial one more time over here. Let's minimize this and let's click extend. So that gave us the requery of the data, and we see that update, and we're now able to update and extend trials from the app right in the table. So this was a pretty quick example of how to really set some table columns, how to add an action to go and change the trial date. We got some progress bar, we got a custom column in here, we showed column groupings, and we really have a functional app. And we were able to do this just from having a CSV go into the database, setting a workflow, and then having something that folks can view these trials and extend them. So that's our first builder demo. I hope you enjoyed it, and now I'm going to turn it over to Donald to show you a bit on mobile.
Hey everyone, I'm Donald, engineering lead for Retool Mobile. I'm excited to show you some of the newest mobile features and a preview of our built-in Retool storage. Let's get started building an app. So you can see here, the mobile experience now incorporates the new IDE redesign, and we've got a few templates in the bottom left corner here to help us get started. I'm going to go ahead and select the inventory management template, which will overwrite my app and give me a new app with a few screens and some data backed by Retool storage. So you can see here, we have a basic app that has some items. We can click into these items and see some information about them. We have some functionality to update and delete our inventory. So this is a pretty cool basic app, but I think it would be neat if we could add the ability to add new items. So let's go ahead and do that. So first, I'm going to create a new screen using our form generator. All I have to do is click in here to add a screen. We'll call it add item, and we will select the form screen. And that will open up the form generator. So all I have to do is I select the relevant table, and you can see here that it shows all the columns in my Retool database, some information about them like the data type and some suggested components to use. So all I have to do here is select the inputs that we care about. We'll just do the name of the item, the price of it, and its quantity. We'll go ahead and use a text input, and I just click generate form. And you can see here we have a screen generated as well as an associated query. So this is pretty cool. I think this probably does a lot of what we really need. I'm just going to give the screen a name. And I'm going to add a success handler here to our query so that after the item is successfully inserted, we can show notification. So let's say new item added. We can refetch our data so that our list of inventory is accurate with the newly added item. And we can navigate back to our list of inventory. So let's navigate to screen, inventory screen. Great. So I will save that query. And then I think the only thing left to do is to navigate to this screen. So let's go back to our inventory screen. Let's add a floating action button. And for that floating action button, let's navigate to our add item screen. Okay, awesome. I think that's all we should need to do. So let's go ahead and try it out. Great, so we have our list of inventory. We click our button, it takes us to our new screen. Call this new item 1, costs $9.99, and we have 100 of them. See, we click submit, new item added, and if we scroll to the bottom, there's our new item. Great, so that worked pretty well. And I think this would be really cool, though, if we could add the ability to upload an image. I think, as you see, all these items have images, but our new one didn't. So this is where things get interesting. Let's add a camera component here. We'll add the image input. And you can see here we have this new button that says Upload File to Retool Storage. All you have to do is check that box, and when you take an image, the file is uploaded automatically to Retool Storage, which is pretty neat. No need to wire up a resource ourselves. So we've got an image there. I think all we need to do now is go back to our query and add the ability to pass that URL to that image along. So let's go ahead and do that. We've already got our form data. So we'll spread over that. And we'll say image input 1, files, we want the first one, Retool storage URL. I think that's all we're going to need to do. So let's give that another try. So here we are. We see our first item from last time. We'll click in here, new item 2. We'll say this one costs $99. We have 200 of them. We'll also attach an image. Here we go. Let's wait for that to upload. And let's click submit. Let's scroll to the bottom. And there it is, with an image and all. Super easy. So that's really neat. I think, let's see, what else can we do to this app? I think one thing that would be really neat and something mobile specific would be to add support for push notifications so we can let other people in our warehouse know that a new item was added. So push notifications in Retool are pretty simple. All we have to do is add 2 queries. The first one is called a subscribe query. And the way this works is that we basically subscribe the users of our app to a few different topics. These are customizable, but we give you a few out of the box. One is just a topic for the current user, and one is a topic for all users. So we've got these topics here. I'll go ahead and name this query something a little more useful like subscribe. And then this query will automatically be run whenever anyone opens our app. So that's great. And then the only other thing we have to do here is add a query to send the push notification. So again, we'll add a mobile push notifications query. We'll just go ahead and notify all users in our warehouse, and we'll say, new item is available. So perfect. So then the only other thing left to do is go back to our success handler for components or for items inserted into our database. And we will run the send query. Great. Save that. And the subscribe query should automatically run whenever anyone opens this app. So let's go ahead, try this out again. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and open this app on my phone. Okay, so I've opened the app. Now let's add a third item here. Insert a image again. Wait for it to upload. Okay, and submit it. Awesome. We should see our new item here. Great. And oh, yep, and I received a push notification. Awesome. Very cool. All right, so this is a pretty sophisticated app that we built in maybe 5 or 6 minutes. I think the only other thing I might want to do here is give it a little bit of a theme. So if we just go into our settings here, we can select some colors here, update the look and feel a little bit, and just make this app a little bit better looking. So here we go. That's our app. Super excited for everything new in Retool Mobile, and I can't wait for you all to use it. If you'd like to learn more about Retool Mobile, just check out retool.com/products/mobile. Thank you.